All right. Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Rothy's Revolution. I am your host, Rothy. Thank you once again for joining us today. This is a very special episode, one that I have been working towards for a while with my very good friend. And I'm super excited to have the conversation that we are going to have today. So, without further ado, he's a bit of a local legend here. I know many of my
Mhm.
are going to be excited to see him on the show and hear a lot about what he has to say. And yeah, he's done a lot of great things, especially within the music industry. He's got a tremendous background, but I came to know him through music. Of course, a lot of you know that I perform, I do karaoke. Music was my actual formal education. My degrees are in recording arts and entertainment business. I worked for over a decade in the music industry and media, worked with legends, and yeah, music is one of my main passions. So it would only make sense that he and I would gel and be two energies that just naturally kind of came together and found kinship and friendship and one another. So without further ado, I am very proud and honored to welcome to the show my friend, Jeff Hopson. Welcome, Jeff.
I thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this with you. But I've been looking forward to it, very forward to it.
Me too, me too. And as you know, I've been kind of courting you, if you will, for a while, have this conversation with you. I know that you and I have shared many conversations behind the scenes with regards to many different topics. And I was so excited to hear and to see the support that you've always given me and the encouragement to continue doing what I do. It's a bit of it's a bit of an endeavor to to put yourself out there like that, like I do, and to speak the
Oh, it
truth
is.
you. And so
It
to
is.
receive your kind words of support and encouragement meant the world to me, especially with the amount of respect that everybody has for you. I was super excited to get that from you. So, but
You're very welcome. It's very deserving.
thank you. And which made me more excited to, get the get the DM from you that yeah, I want to do this. I want to do this show.
Mhm.
And there's a couple topics as of late that you and me on social media have kind of been batting back and with. Before we get into that, because I know that that's a huge thing for us to delve into, I want to talk a little bit about your history with music, and why don't you tell my audience a little bit more about what you do, the accolades that you have, and how we came to know Jeff Hopson.
Um, Back around 2010. Well, let me go back further than that. I'm from Upper East Tennessee. I was born in a town that's uh, thanks to the song Wagon Wheel, has become popular in America because it mentions Johnson City, Tennessee in it. And that's where I was born. That's where my mother was born as well.
Wow.
And, but I did most of my growing up. We lived in Florida for a little while. I went to the first and second grade in Florida. Then we moved up to Charlotte, North Carolina, working our way back home toward East Tennessee.
Okay.
And my little brother was born there. My two sisters were born in Florida. My our youngest brother, well, he's my only brother. Um, he's the youngest of the family. He was born when we lived in Charlotte, so he's resultantly a big Tar Heels fan.
Okay.
And but then in I want to say it was the fourth grade. We were back in East Tennessee by the time I was in the fourth grade, and that's where I did all my upbringing. Uh, a lot of music out there. There are such things as a barber, a butcher,
Right.
uh, a car salesman, just a number of guys in any kind of profession uh, come together on a Saturday night and they bring their fiddles, their banjos, their acoustic guitars, and you've never heard such incredible playing as these guys do, and they're just regular old hometown guys that don't have any ambitions of making it in the music business, but they're good. They're extremely good. And in Upper East Tennessee, you're going to hear a lot of bluegrass because that's the area part of the country where a lot of that stuff came to us from, and it just melded into gospel music. I heard a lot of gospel growing up. We used to have this gospel singing show on Sunday morning, and the Gospel Singing Jubilee, I think, was the name of it, and all the major Southern gospel quartets and groups would be on that. And I got a lot. My love for harmony came from the quartet setup, and so yeah, just from there it was just keep the stern straight and roll with the waves, and it's I did a gospel album. I meant to mention that too. Back in like 1980, I was with a gospel group out of our home church, and in Greenville, Tennessee, and we wound up doing an album. We actually got to do a vinyl record, back in 1980, and it consisted of original music, and some gospel covers that we liked. And then somewhere along the way, I wound up in Nashville. Loved Nashville as a place to live. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family, actually. And but if you're in the music business, you might want to look elsewhere. It was the hardest thing to figure out and the hardest egg to crack I've ever encountered.
Wow.
And so after about 3.5 years of that, my old high school buddy wound up in Garland, Texas. And through keeping in touch with him and us talking and me expressing my frustration about Nashville, how hard it is to even just get a gig to play out there, he said, "Man, you should come down here." He said, "There are places, people love live music down here. There are places to play all over the place." So I came down in one summer in '89 to visit on vacation. I went down and stayed with him and his wife, and loved it so much. I couldn't wait to get back to Nashville so I could pack my things and move to Texas,
Come
which
on,
I
Matt.
did. September
Yeah.
6th, 1989, I stepped off a plane in DFW airport and been here since.
Nice. Nice. And so you've recorded, at this point in time, you've recorded 2 or 3 albums, correct?
Yeah, aside from the gospel one I mentioned a while ago, I've got two. I've got 2 albums out of all original stuff. It's either stuff that I wrote myself or I wrote with a co-writer friend of mine. And that's what those are made of. Heritic came out in 2014, I think.
Mhm.
And Lost and Found came out last year, I think 2024 was when it hit. And they were both recorded at War Room Studios with my good friend Dustin Hendricks and his lovely wife Aubrey Lynn. And so yeah, got two of those under my belt now. I don't know if I'll see a third, but I have enough material written for a third, to be sure. Whether an album of recorded work will come out or not's to be seen.
Okay. Now, Aubrey Lynn, that sounds familiar. That's that really amazing voice with the long black hair that I've seen playing at your shows.
That's her.
She's
She's a
absolutely
she's a
like,
power. She's a powerhouse.
yeah, yeah.
Never known a woman personally that could belt with that voice like that, like she does.
Yeah, as a singer, I was immediately, and I've never been too much of like a country music fan necessarily. I love the bluegrass because, as you said, that's pretty big in Tennessee, and I
Hmm.
we had a cabin up near Pigeon Forge, so every single year we'd go up there for vacations growing up, and
Well,
a
now,
lot.
let me butt in right here. Where did you live? It's real funny you'd mentioned Pigeon Forge because that's just down the state line from where I'm from. And so, what was your connection with Pigeon Forge?
So we had a cabin. My parents actually still have the property on top of Hatcher Mountain Road in Wares
Yeah,
Valley, which is it's in between Townsend and Pigeon Forge in
right.
Spearville.
Hmm.
And They in 1990, I want to believe, my brother was born in 90. They purchased this property up there and built a cabin for our, of course, our vacations, family vacations, but also to rent out, because rentals,
Yeah.
cabins are huge.
No.
That's for the
Was
economy.
your family in Texas at this time?
No, we were actually in Florida. You mentioned
Oh,
Florida.
oh,
I'm
okay.
from El Paso. That's where I was born and raised in Fort Bliss, military baby. But my mom
Yeah.
got when I was 11, and my stepdad got a job out in Orlando. So we moved
Okay.
down County, Deltona. It's in between Daytona Beach and Orlando. And I grew up in Central Florida. Majority of my life was actually spent there. 30 years of my life. I only came back in 2019 just to be closer to my father's side of the family, and I was
Right.
done. Florida, there's a lot of fun things to do there, but it never was really home for me. I never
Hmm.
had really roots there. I have a lot of friends, and I'm grateful for the time there. But I was ready to come back to Texas. I'm a
Oh,
Texan.
yeah.
I'm a Texan. Born and
Yeah.
bred. I was ready to come home, and but yeah, we spent a lot of time going up to Tennessee and Wears Valley and Sevierville and stuff for vacations. I love it up there. The Appalachian Mountains are gorgeous. It's just such a magical land. I love
It
Tennessee.
is. It really is.
You're right. People will, you could just go down the road and Pigeon Forge. And of course, that's a huge tourist area, but you can just, even in the churches and, the little stands and stuff, there's just the country boys out there, playing their little guitars and singing, and the music out there is
Yeah.
incredibly soulful and magical to me. So,
There was a big Northern Florida was a hot spot for music that wound up being major label artists with hit records and a lot of airplay around the Jacksonville, Gainesville area, and
yes.
you got all the Van Zant brothers, Ronnie Van Zant, Donnie and Johnny Van Zant, who were Leonard Skinner, 38 Special, and then Johnny Van Zant had his own band, which
Yeah.
he wound up with Leonard Skinner. Those bands were all from down there. Molly Hatchet were from down there. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were Gainesville, I think. Gainesville, Florida. Is that correct?
Yep. I
And
actually for one of the Van Zants years ago before he passed away. It was the cousin of Ronnie, and I forget his first name, but anyways, I digress.
mhm.
Music from the Florida Georgia line, and I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
you know, but yeah, for sure.
you cut out every once in a while. Is that a normal thing or what?
It could be your phone. I'm hearing you okay, but I'm
Okay.
a good StreamYard thing here, so I
Yeah.
haven't heard sort of any sort of latency or lag. But just let me know if you can't hear me, and I can repeat myself. I'm happy to.
Yeah. I appear to be getting a good signal, so I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it's odd that you did some time in Orlando, and that's where we were when we were in Florida.
Okay.
My two sisters were born there, and also the other Florida connection, Amy. Amy was brought up in Fort Lauderdale, so she's a Florida girl too.
Nice. Yeah, Florida has some nice places. My brother was born in Sanford, which is Seminole County, kind of right next in between Orlando and Daytona. And yeah, we spent I spent 30 years there. So I have a lot of great memories. I spent a few years on the Bay in the Bay Area in
Oh
Bradenton
yeah.
by Tampa. And I went through more hurricanes that I can count. So I
Oh,
know how
no
to do
doubt,
parties.
no
But
doubt.
I miss fishing in the bay at Anna Maria Pier, but pretty much that and my friends are the things that I miss about Florida. I don't miss the traffic. I don't miss the alligators. I don't miss the tourists, the mosquitoes, or the 3 p.m. thunder showers every single
Yeah.
afternoon.
All of that I could live with, but a bunch of alligators can go straight to hell.
Yeah.
I'm not an alligator fan. They're at the top of my kill 'em all list. And, I'm horrified of them. I really am.
I mean, growing up Florida, you have to become like how many stories did you hear growing up about the neighbor's dog getting eaten? Like I know
Florida.
people have been bitten by alligators or attacked by
Uh-huh.
or their dog. My boss's husband was at the Target in Ocoee, and literally it was a huge shopping center, and he just went to let the golden retriever out to go potty while his wife
Mhm.
and daughter were inside Target. And this
Yep.
big gator comes out of the retention pond and eats the dog in front of him. Like this sort
Yeah.
of stuff daily. You go into my best friend Melody, she had a pool in her backyard in Deltona. And I spent the night one night. We come out the next day to go swimming, and there's a gator in her pool. Like this
Oh my
happens,
God.
so
No.
yeah.
And those stories are why I'm terrified of them, and then the things you see on TV, the news and whatnot. I'm like, I don't want to live anywhere where those things could even be seen by me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay letting them have their space, and they stay out of mine. I stay out of theirs, and that
Yeah.
sort of.
But too close. I know they have some in Texas, but it's more so like southern Texas and
Yeah.
Houston. But I think we're pretty safe where we are out here in North Texas from them. But I'm grateful for that. I'm definitely glad to get over.
Um, what's the lake that's up there next to Wiley?
Lake Ray Hubbard.
No, it's the other one.
Mm,
Um, well, anyway, it's the one that Wiley is right there where this lake is. And I know
okay.
Ray Hubbard's just a bit east of that, but I've seen an alligator in that lake. I have a friend of mine, there's a buddy I told you that helped me move down here. He took me fishing one day on this lake, uh, and we're sitting back in this little sleuth, just kind of bait casting, trying to catch largemouth bass. And all of a sudden, something caught my attention, and I look over and I go, Jerry. He's like, what? I said, is that an alligator? You know how they float along the top of the water, And he said, yep, that's an alligator. And I'm like, what are they doing this far north, man?
Yeah,
Alligators should not be up in the Dallas, North Texas region.
I agree. I agree.
And I was horrified.
Yeah, I will not. Growing up in Florida, I will not get in any body of water that I cannot see the bottom.
Yeah,
I won't do it. I
you,
don't care.
you and
Like
I agree.
I just am not taking the chance. But yeah, we got a lot in common there.
We
Uh,
agree a lot in that. If I can't see the bottom, I don't want to get in.
yeah, I'm not.
Call me coward, but you don't get to be my age by taking chances like that. I mean,
Exactly. I call it common sense. I call it wisdom,
yeah,
arts, intelligence. So,
yep, exactly.
but going back to your creativity, one of the things that I was telling you a little bit earlier about the reason that I like that name, the Heretic of your album, and the I think I saw it on a T-shirt or something, the Hopson Heretics or something like
Yeah.
that. I think you recall my friend Clint, the one with the black beard,
Hmm.
and we were talking about this one day, and that word heretic, and I'm like, and how it has such a, people look at it as like oh, heresy, that's a bad thing, but in my
Yeah.
review and observation of religion and the Bible, and I have my certain beliefs or what have you, but there's also things that I stand up against, even if I have
Hmm.
religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs, what have you. I'm
Hmm.
very I'm very much a rebel, and
Yeah.
rebel for righteousness. Though I want the righteous thing in life, and have my beliefs in God, and all of that. But where did that? Tell me a little bit more about that word heretic, and how did that come about? It feels like
It was actually a word that came about in the early Catholic Church. Um, I'm not sure if it has a Latin form or whether that is the Latin form. I don't know, but uh, the word came into existence as a result of the early first or second century church that became organized and became what we know as the Catholic Church now. And it basically meant anybody who refused to uh, consort to the guidelines and follow the rules, and intent on stepping outside the boundaries and the lanes, and of course it would get you burned at the stake or drawn and quartered or whatever back, depending on which time frame we're talking about.
Right.
But the thing that I always loved about the term heretic is the fact that Jesus was the first heretic. If
And
anybody would have been called a heretic in the first century AD, it would have been Jesus himself. He was an outlaw. You know,
that's right.
he stood in the face of authority and bravely called a spade, and did it fearlessly.
I love it.
So
Absolutely.
I
I
didn't have
agree.
any problem using heretic for a name for the band or the album.
I think that's amazing. And I very much resonated with that when I saw that. I was like, and this was when I was getting to know you a little bit. I just met you and like, who is this guy? He's got a special vibe about him, and that word stands out as something that would be a little bit more meaningful than just anybody else would think. So I kind of felt like there was a bit of intent with that, and I love that. I absolutely resonate with that. And of course,
Yeah.
my show is Rothy's Revolution. I'm a
Well,
revolution.
I recognized the heretic in you after knowing you for 5 minutes.
And I take that as the ultimate compliment. So thank you very much. Yeah, for sure. Like I'm always going to question the narrative, and I mean, and in this day and age, there's so many narratives to question. I think that one isn't really paying attention if you're just accepting the narratives as they feed them to us, and
Yeah.
one of the biggest examples of that, especially recently, is going to be the Charlie Kirk assassination.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
the federal narrative that's being fed to us, which is just like how I don't understand. I'm rendered incredulous as to how anybody can just look at that and be like, "Oh yeah, that was some 22-year-old guy that did that." Like no, that's not what
Right.
happened. And it's there's I just see layers and layers and layers of corruption and lies, and um, it bothers me, and that's one of the recent ones that I've wanted to delve into. I know you've had thoughts on that. We've talked a little bit about that before.
I've scoured the news and YouTube every day since the day it happened, trying to get to the bottom. And that's all we can do is take what information we have out there. And it's not always, and more often than not, it'll be not a national um, uh, bit of information being thrown out there. It's not going to be uh, the the official explanation for it. It amazed me in this short a time. I mean, we're talking September 10th until now, the number of conspiracy theories about who did this, how it was done, it blows me away. I mean, I don't recall. And weird enough, I was alive when JFK was assassinated. I was only 6 years old, but I was in first grade in Florida, and we had TVs. It was a pretty progressive school, and we had TVs in the classrooms there in 1963. And I remember that day, and it's been a fascination, a fixation of mine ever since. Still is to this day. First thing I wanted to do when I moved to Texas, I had my buddy Jerry. I said, "Take me to Dealey Plaza. I got to see Dealey Plaza." First
Yeah,
thing I wanted to do when I got here.
yeah,
And it amazes me that over that many decades that it took for all the conspiracy theories to spring up regarding JFK,
yeah, yeah,
just that September 10th.
yeah,
Look at how many there are. I
yeah,
mean, you've got a 22-year-old shooter on a roof that had a 30-06 that he couldn't break down. He couldn't have possibly broken that thing down. How the story about the breakdown of the rifle. And then we've got there was a shooter from the side, from his right side, that shot down at him this way, exited there. Because what you're seeing is reverse.
right.
So, and then you've got the guy that supposedly was right in front of him, and Kirk had the little microphone clipped onto his shirt. Supposedly that was a projectile of some sort that a guy did a thing on his sleeve, and at that instant, Kirk's hit. So you got all these things. You got the ideas about uh, Israel, Netanyahu. That has to be thrown into the mix. Kirk had made it pretty plain that he could no longer, in good conscience, maintain his pro-Israel stance because of things that were going on in Gaza Strip. That Kirk was morally opposed to entirely, completely. And so I don't know. It's and then you've got the Erica thing, and you get the Candace thing, and you
Yeah.
get all these people. Joe Rogan's even weighing in a lot these days. His podcast is dealing a whole lot with that now. So yeah, it's a deep subject, and it's nothing like this has happened since November. Well, it has, because Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King were both assassinated in 1968.
Right.
But and there was conspiracy theories about those guys too.
Yeah. And
Did
the
you know?
plane, you know,
I'm sorry, what? Say it
even the
again.
JFK Jr. plane crash and how he and Caroline supposedly
Oh, absolutely,
experienced
absolutely.
that as well.
Yep. And did you know that Martin Luther King Jr.'s wife and family, of course, she's gone now, but his children, along with their mom when she was alive, didn't believe James Earl Ray was the guy that killed Martin Luther King.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, that's saying a bunch right there, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely says a lot. And I feel really bad for these families that, that have to be a part of that. Speaking of, I, I,
Oh yeah.
I struggle with that one a lot, Jeff, because just something in my spirit just does not buy her energy. Like her energy is just false to me. And I hate to be accusational.
Yeah.
A lot of people hurt when they see my posts, when I'm like, just she's got to be faking. Like, I question this. I can't. My
Yeah.
When I watch her,
I'm,
like,
I'm with you.
like leaning over
Hmm.
and just such over the top acting. You were the one that said this online, that you thought you were watching some sort of movie. I forgot the name of
I said it. I said I felt like I was watching an old Anne Margaret movie. I did, and I've seen it several times since then and watched it, and I still feel the same way. And the subsequent public talks that she made, she doesn't seem genuine to me, and I'm trying not to be knee jerk and condemning this woman, you know, uh, because I don't know, you know. All I can do, like I said a while ago, all we can do is gather what information there is out there available and speculate on it. That's all we can do. And we're never going to know the truth, just like we've never known the full truth about these other assassinations and things we've been talking about. We don't know to this day who actually shot John Kennedy.
yeah.
I know Lee Harvey Oswald didn't,
Right.
and or he wasn't the only one, at least. And and Sarah, when this thing first happened, Amy texted me from work, and she said, "Somebody here saying that Charlie Kirk just got shot." So I get on TV, get on YouTube, the news, whatever I can find, and immediately it came up telling me that this had happened. And I waited around for just a few more minutes to get the confirmation that he was dead. And the the first thought I had was, okay, it's just a matter of hours or days until they parade a patsy around in front of us. Wait and see.
Yeah.
And sure enough, the words hadn't been a half an hour out of my mouth. Well, some hours later, I think it's 33 hours later or something, they said they caught him.
Yep.
33, that number 33 is significant too.
33, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very, very significant. It's a Masonic number.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's the
you know,
highest degree of Freemasonry,
right.
which was created by Albert Pike. And he pretty much designed and built the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, which the York rite is the original one that just went 3 degrees. But the Scottish rite by Albert Pike extended on into 33rd degree. And that 33rd degree has to be bestowed upon you by the Grand Lodge. It's not one that you can work through and pay to take the tests and go through the rigors, to make that grade like you can the other up to 32. 33, you have to have that bestowed upon you by the Grand Lodge for some outstanding accomplishment of some sort, whatever they deem necessary for that.
Right.
But yeah, but so 33 is a big number that figures into biblical history.
Yes.
It and there are a bunch of other things, and I wish I'd thought we were going to talk about this, and I would have gathered that information and told you how significant that number 33 is in just about everything.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
the thing that bugged me the most about this these conspiracy theories about what happened, who did it, how was it done, and I could be wrong, but the one that irritates me the most, that I literally roll my eyes when somebody brings this one up, is the hologram thing. I know holograms exist. I know they're real. I've seen a few holograms, like some dead rock stars, heavy metal artists, Ronnie James Dio and Freddie Mercury, people like that. They've done hologram shows for those guys. I know that technology exists, but I don't know how they could have pulled that off in front of people standing right there in front of it.
Exactly. Um, that is one, and when people are like, "Oh, he's alive, he's in Valhalla,"
Yeah,
there is there is that weird thing that Kash Patel did when
yeah,
he,
it's a little resort island or something, right?
that is kind of weird, and I do, I can see how people are trying to make connections. There's multiple dots to connect there, but
Yeah,
I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that version either. I mean, honestly, I would love for that to be true. I would love for him to be alive and well and living on some island and witness protection, but
yeah,
that's not what happened in front of how many thousands of
yeah.
people, you know.
And somebody asked me one time, uh, so what do you think about this? Uh, it's all a projection. It's that camera that was behind him on the tent wall back there. He said that was a hologram projection machine. No, it wasn't. It was a freaking camera. It was a camera.
Yeah,
And I asked this friend of mine, and he's a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, somebody I have a lot of respect and love for. I said, okay, let me ask you this. Suppose you're one of those people sitting or standing right in the front there. That banister with the banners on it, that kind of went around the front of where Kirk sat, where his tent was. And you had those people, crushed up against it where they would step out and speak to Charlie.
right,
Okay, let's suppose you're one of those people. Now, when Charlie entered the area, he came in, he walked in, and he walked right out in front of people, throwing caps out, flinging the caps out to everybody, and they saw him. And I said to my friend, I said, let's suppose you're one of those guys that caught one of those caps and you're standing right there in front, and he might have looked right at you and smiled and said hi or something. And then he turns when he's finished doing that, and he walks back around to, as viewers, our point of view would be to the right of the tent, and then entered the tent to where he would sit down. I said, at which point did you, holding one of those hats he tossed to you, stop seeing the real Charlie and start seeing a hologram Charlie? How did they
very,
pull that off right in front of you?
yeah, great point. That's one I hadn't even thought about, but yeah, you're
There,
absolutely,
there's
you know,
there has to be an instant in which the real Charlie vanished and the hologram Charlie appeared.
yeah,
And I don't buy it. That's senseless to me.
yeah. Yeah, that one doesn't make sense to me either. And even Candace said that she had spoken and had seen the footage from that actual camera.
Hmm.
Another sense to me about there's so much of it that doesn't make sense. Almost every part of it doesn't make sense. But immediately afterwards, they began cleaning up a crime scene, a murder scene
Mhm.
afterwards. And then the days after, they've paved over it.
Yeah.
When has something like that happen to where now I have heard that they did the same with 9/11, that they and
Mhm.
you have friends that were actually there that
Yeah.
day, horrible day, and they've spoken to me about their experiences with that. Dana and Tommy and some great friends of ours, but uh, and even their thoughts on that and what they experienced as opposed to some of the conspiracy theories and things like that. It's it's a lot to take in, and
Oh, yeah.
this is personal experience of friends of ours. This is not like
Mhm.
second. They were there. They literally they were running and there they lost. I can't remember. I think Dana said she went to 30 something funerals. Like they lost friends, and every time they talk about it, they're almost in tears. It's still so
Yeah.
very for them. And they
Yeah,
were there.
I know Dana and Tommy very well.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
known them ever since I've been associated with that venue where I played for so long. I've known them. So yeah, I know the two people you're talking about very well.
yeah. And so you know, for them, for people like that, your close friends to like tell you the things that like, no, we saw this. This was there. This
Mhm.
was happened, and it's completely different from a lot of the conspiracy theories or even you know the narrative or what have you.
Mhm.
You got to take all of that in and realize like wow that's what happened, you know. And
Mhm.
so there was so much with that that even the construction afterwards, I heard that a lot of that was covered up immediately afterwards, just like it was at the Utah University where Charlie Kirk was murdered. They immediately just paved over it and covered it up. And I'm just
Mhm.
thinking, why would they do that? Why would the government do that?
Yeah.
Why like that's a murder scene, and there's still so there was so many people there. There it would take months to probably comb through and go. There's so much that could have been lost as far as information. So to me, that alone is a telltale marker that there's collusion and there's
Mhm.
something else going on. And those in authority, I hate to say it because these are the people I voted for. These are the people that I fought for and
Mhm.
that I've done podcasts for you know a long time, and
Right.
now I'm like I'm questioning them. You know, Cash Patel looked like an absolute amateur in this Charlie Kirk
I
thing.
know. I know, and I haven't felt at ease with him since. I didn't really know much about him except that he had been appointed to that position.
Right?
But ever since the Kirk thing, that's when I've seen actually more of him in the news than any other time. And I'm uneasy about him. I really am. And I don't know what it is. I don't want to make it something as shallow as his looks or something like that. Something in my spirit is just doesn't sit easy
Yeah,
when I see that guy.
I agree. I agree. Now I will say that I feel a little bit differently towards Dan Bongino. I do feel like
Oh,
Dan
yeah.
Bongino is in a position now to where he's probably very uncomfortable. I feel like he accepted the position with the understanding and with the belief that he was going to be able to do the right thing and be truthful and be the patriot that he's always been.
Hmm.
And you know take take names and you know and all of that, but I think that he has found himself in a position now where him and Cash are not getting along because I don't think that Cash is the real deal. I agree with you. I absolutely there's just something really off about his energy to me, and especially after the Charlie Kirk thing.
And
And then
Bongino is the real deal. I
I think
think when I realized that he had taken that position that was offered him, my first thought was, my God, that's what I've always believed to be a good man.
uh,
Now, what's the whole political machine going to do to him? You know, how's it going to corrupt him, or will it corrupt him? I don't know. Maybe he'll, like you said, maybe he'll be faced to do some things that make him really, really uncomfortable. But that was my first thoughts when I learned that Bongino was in that position. Was that's a good man. I don't know how he'll make it in this whole White House political theater.
Yeah.
It worries me, actually.
Yeah, I think that we really saw a bit of that character come out a few months back when there was that struggle going on with Pam Bondi and some of the things that she was supposed to be doing that she wasn't doing, and I feel like she's done a terrible job. And she was AG of Florida. I voted for her back then, and I was disappointed then, and I'm still disappointed in Pam Bondi. And but anyways, he was very adamant about, like, I'm about to leave the FBI. I'm about to abandon this position, and
Yeah.
he was about to stand on principle with that, and that really kind of showed that he had some balls and
Yeah.
he had those morals. I think that they talked him down from it, and they promised him, okay,
Hmm.
what you're going to do, and
Hmm.
compromise with. And I think he went along with it. But I too am interested to see what happens with Bongino and how he is going forward, because I still believe in him. I've believed in him from the beginning. He was one of the guys that I was excited about having in a position. So, but yeah, the rest of the administration, I think that more and more I like Tulsi.
Oh, I do
I
too. I do too.
And she was a Democrat, like
I
she.
know. Yeah.
And so to me, that's kind of surprising. I am and have always been a fan of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I met her at the Waco rally back in 2023 here in Texas, and that was amazing. I also met Matt Gaetz then. That was great. I still like Matt. I think that he should be in position. I feel like he's a fighter and he's truthful. Everybody has a history. Everybody has a past. I hate that anything like that is held against people, especially when they've done so much good in their positions. But um, we're all human. We're all out there to some degree. We've all done some stupid shit at some point in time, and I think that if you're now at a point where you're ready to do some work, you're ready to do good. Like, I
Yep.
think as long as it wasn't criminal, that you're not that's not held against you, and you go forward in a much better way. Charlie Kirk himself, he admitted, I used to struggle with things like pornography, and he ended up being just such a godly man, and such a
Hmm.
man, and a powerful man, and a man
Hmm.
that's so, the we can't let the sins of our past necessarily dictate. Granted, there is a spectrum. You can't necessarily be the worst person in the world and come back and then come in to save people, be trusted. But at the
Right.
same, there are those Davids, there are those Saul.
Well, yeah. And in the higher places of power and influence you inhabit, the greater those temptations are. Um,
Yeah,
Good power, as the old saying goes, power corrupts. Ultimate power corrupts ultimately.
yeah,
Or one absolute or absolutely might be the word that was used in that. Sure. But,
very true.
I don't. I don't worry so much about Bongino sticking to his guns. I think he will. I think he would step down and vacate the premises before he would step down off of his moral platform. Uh, Much in the same way Charlie Kirk was. This is something else I wanted to talk about while we're at this point. I wanted to discuss why this all happened to begin with. And this is what I've surmised at this point from everything I've gathered, everything I've come to know or think I know. I think that your head would have to have been in the sand to not realize what an important, powerful platform turning point was for the Republican Party and to Donald Trump specifically.
Yes.
Um, that was their golden boy. And Turning Point was their golden platform.
Mm-hmm.
The most powerful, effective tool they had in their arsenal. Everything's going along fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then Netanyahu is cutting some shines over there at the Gaza Strip, and in things that Kirk pointed out. He laid it out there in plain terms what he was doing. It's a 6-hour stand down thing. You're familiar with that part, right? And
Yes.
and if that happened, I can imagine anybody being abhorrent of something like that. And Kirk just finally said it, and it wasn't just that; it was other things that he felt like Israel was too involved in running America. And then Netanyahu wants to call him over. Well, he's like, come here, Charlie, come here. Let's talk.
Keep going, Jeff.
And Charlie's like, okay, but I'm bringing Tucker Carlson with me. And he's told right away, no, you leave Tucker at home. We just want you.
I didn't
Huh?
know. I did not know that. He said he was going to bring Tucker with him.
Oh, yeah. He talked. And in fact, he didn't go to Israel to receive like a couple $1 million in support from a benefactor over there, because they said no to bringing Tucker with him.
Wow.
And that was a big one. That was a big one for me. So now, because of this, Kirk pretty much sloshed a glass of milk in Netanyahu's face, figuratively, in that situation that happened, and made him unhappy. And his cronies that satellite around him made them unhappy because it made Bibi unhappy. Then this in turn puts the pressure on Trump and the Republican Party and our people that are involved in Israel, defense, politics, all the whole ball of wax.
Mm-hmm.
And now suddenly, this thing that's been their golden platform with their golden boy is threatening to turn things sour. And people in high places can't be standing for that. Now, I don't know who, I don't know where, which side of the Atlantic it was on, or which side of the Mediterranean Sea it was on. But somebody did a little head session with a few other people that had to do with Israel and the Republican Party and the union, the marriage of the U.S. and Israel, and said, this is not going the way we planned. Something has to be done. This cannot go on. So it makes sense to me, and this is supposition here. Kirk is removed. He's taken out of the picture. Now they have control back of Turning Point. And they've got the only person that America is going to embrace and hold up in his wife to take his place. And she's going to, obviously, she's going to do it. And when I first heard that was going to happen, I was glad about it. And my opinion of that now is a little muddy. I'm not going to, go throwing mud balls at somebody ahead of my time. But that's what I think this happened for. The thing I just laid out for you is exactly why I think this happened. Turning Point is back in Republican control. The troublemaker is not in the way anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And now they own that thing again. And they'll manipulate Erica like they would anybody. Anybody that was going to take Charlie Kirk's place is going to be manipulated to kind of walk the line a little bit, not be the renegade that Charlie was.
Yeah.
So there.
I absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And I will piggyback that with also the fact, you said, remove
I
him.
may be wrong. I might be so wrong. I don't know, but I don't think I am.
1000% correct. And the reason I think that is because there's, what was it? Josh Hammer just said something neutralizing. I think it was Tucker Carlson. word neutralizing Tucker
Yep.
Carlson. These
Now, what
people,
exactly does that mean?
exactly, they, it's such a prevalent thing to them to remove people in the way that they need to do because they control the entire media. I'll be
Yeah.
the first to
Yeah.
say it. I'll be the first to say it with my last name being Rothblatt and me having Jewish lineage all the way back to and then some. That's another show in and of itself. But
Right.
they control the entire media. If you don't know what I'm talking about, people, go watch Out of Shadows with I think Mike Smith, and he breaks down the main
Mm-hmm.
companies own all of the media channels, even
Mm-hmm.
Fox News. Rupert Murdoch, a Jew.
Uh-huh.
Rupert, a Jew. This is all controlled media, and so they
Oh yeah.
have media.
I'm glad to hear. I love the fact that I know a Jewish lady that'll say that
Yeah.
publicly,
Oh, I'll say
unashamedly.
agreement, and it drives me nuts. And this is why I'm such a defender of Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and these honest journalists and people who are actually sitting there saying like this is the truth. And that's why I love Charlie Kirk too. One of the things I in my mind had always imagined going to one of his events, and there was
Oh
two
yeah.
things I always think about or fantasize about debating with Charlie, because he was the top debater. And you know me now, Jeff, you know how I get online. I'm happy to go into a debate. I'm extremely very informed.
Yeah.
I'm very linguistic. I'm bold with it. I want the smoke. Please bring the argument because I'm going to break it down for you.
Well, that's why I was anxious. That's exactly why I was anxious to do this with you, because you're engaging. I like to be engaging. I'm not afraid to conflict with somebody, but I'm going to do it like Charlie Kirk did. I'm going to do it as a gentleman. I'm not going to berate somebody. I'm not going to call them names like so many people I know do.
Right. And
And
he was the ultimate representation of my favorite quote, which is slander becomes the tool of the loser once the
yeah,
debate. And that's why,
has been lost. Yeah.
they don't have the truth. They don't have truth, armory in their arsenal. So the way that Marxists work is they then have to deflect by getting you emotional, by attacking you personally. So
And
if you're
how often do we see that every day?
exactly, and he
All
knew
day long.
he was as South Park called him a master debater, and he loved
Yeah.
episode. I wish they'd
Yeah.
put it on,
Yeah, he did.
so it was,
And Charlie got quite the kick out of that too, if you remember.
he loved it. It's still
Yeah.
his profile picture. So like, yeah, he was a master debater. And that's one of the things that I loved about him. And I wanted to actually have debates with him. And there was two things that I was going to debate if I ever talked to him. And that would be Israel and, his thoughts that animals won't be in heaven one day, because I do believe they have souls and I do believe they'll go to heaven. But the other thing was Israel. And then he started to change his perspective on Israel. And I want to go further into this and kind
Yeah.
of piggyback what you were saying, and that with Erica, we also have to keep in mind that Miss Erica, both of her parents were highly involved with Israel before she was ever married, before she even knew
Absolutely.
her.
Absolutely, they were. Yeah.
Her father was with Raytheon and helped to build the Iron Dome.
Yeah.
This woman was bred and raised to have a political husband of such power. There was no coincidence as to their meeting. There was
Yeah.
no the fact that she was a casting director for Trump when he owned the Miss USA pageant,
Right.
and then the fact that she had never been in a beauty pageant her entire life, yet she goes to run one time, her first time for Miss Arizona, and happens to win.
Yeah.
There's that happen. People who spend their entire lives, women spend their entire lives competing, and they know how hard it is to win. And she goes in
Mhm.
and wins. Time that's never happened. It hasn't happened since. That is unprecedented, and there was a reason it happened. We're
Yeah.
not dealing just some pretty woman who happened to be conservative Christian slash Catholic girl who met Charlie Kirk on something because she wanted to work for TPUSA. That's not what happened. Her parents were very influential in Israel. She has
Very.
background as well. She is a part of the political machine, and she, in fact, has been a catalyst of my eye opening that much more to the right side of corruption. You know what I mean? Like
The,
corruption, right side.
corruption. Yeah.
And so to me, it absolutely it just builds, it just continue to build the much bigger picture and much more clear picture as to who and how this was done. Finally, like you said, their golden boy, the most impactful. Trump wouldn't have won this election without TPUSA and without Charlie Kirk. He would not have won. And so for their golden boy, who was this absolute genius, master debater, and one who could just do it, and one who was probably looked to be a future president of this country, for him to suddenly become that renegade, like you said, and just start speaking truths about the things in which we shan't mention and the people that we shan't speak because we're not supposed to. That is and it's just crazy to me that people can see these interviews and the things that he was talking about, and then the subsequent outings of his close friends that were saying, and the days and weeks prior to his assassination, he had mentioned multiple times that he was concerned about Israel taking him out.
Yeah.
He was concerned about all these proven things happened.
Yeah.
And
we're talking like within 2 weeks, sometimes, and in one or two of those instances, a few days before the assassination.
The Ben Shapiro episode that they did, where Ben Shapiro was looking at him like that, was the night before his assassination. You're telling me that we need to believe that some 22-year-old transgender kid did this? I'm not dumb. I'm sorry. I'm just it's a gaslight. It's a gaslight.
That got
American people.
Okay, that last whole sentence you said, you went completely blank, and like you said, it's probably some issue with my phone because you're hearing me uninterrupted, and parts of what you say blank out a little bit. Usually, not very much more than a word, but that time it was quite a bit of what you just said.
Okay.
Can think to repeat it.
Yeah. So the fact that the Ben Shapiro interview, where he was talking with Ben Shapiro about this exact topic of we can't question them. That was the night before his assassination, and then they want us to believe this narrative that it was this 22-year-old that broke down the gun and put it back together, and all of this. Like, it's an insult to our intelligence. And I think it's really starting to make me think that there are multiple timelines happening, because for conservatives and for people who I once thought were common sense people that stood next to believe the narrative and to think that people like Candace Owens are crazy for questioning it. That's where I'm blown. That's where my mind is blown.
And I'm glad you come back around to Candace, because it was something else I wanted to talk to you about. Tucker, what was it you said they wanted to do? What to Tucker?
Josh Hammer said that they needed to neutralize.
Neutralize, that's the word. Okay, neutralize Tucker. I think that Tucker Carlson would be. I mean, you got two people that, if they're going to stand up and be heretics like Charlie Kirk was, and have the balls of a stallion, and just stand in the face of everybody and do what they do, the other two, besides Charlie himself, would be Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens.
Absolutely.
And they both feel as strongly about everything as the other one does. I think Tucker is far more even in his dispensing of these notions. He's a bit more of a gentleman, where Candace is just like an emotional fireball. She's just a loose cannon. And like you, I think you have a little edge on Candace, though. You're a little more to the sane side of loose cannon.
Thank you.
And but Candace, this has been on my mind lately, and that doesn't mean anything except my creative head that I live in all the time. It comes up with ideas. Somebody had said something one day about Candace is going to be next. And I said, no, I don't think she will. And here's why. Because how obvious would that be if Charlie gets off like he did, and then just a few weeks later, Candace, his crony, gets offed for the same reasons, pretty much. I said, no, I don't. They're going to find other ways. There's going to be a smear campaign, something, and Candace might just make herself look like a lunatic on her own, because she can point at. I really think she has passion, and I really think I think she loved Charlie Kirk very like a brother. I think he was like blood kin to her almost. And other people are saying, "Oh, she's just capitalizing on his death for her own benefit. Her own popularity and her own clicks and her own hits on her podcast and all." I can see somebody else doing that. I kind of don't think Candace is. I've been spending days. That's been the focus of my attention lately, is on Candace and what it is she's doing, trying to get inside her head. And I think she's just a fireball. I think she's just one of those people that she don't feel anything like that. She feels everything like that. And she's one of those people that projects it that way. It comes out like that. And I think she's pissed off. She's pissed off because of what happened to her friend.
Yeah.
And she's pissed off about the way it's being handled afterwards. The aftermath has got her just so fucking mad. She don't know which ends up.
Right.
So Tucker, they might be able to neutralize Tucker. I don't know. I don't know as much about his constituency as I know about Charlie Kirk's.
Yeah.
And I think I know about Candace's. I'm not sure. I think I'm on the right track with Candace. I hope I'm on the right track with her. I really hope so.
Yeah.
But Tucker, he's kind of while he's known for being a very staunch guy in his stance, he's not out there swinging a wrecking ball like Candace is.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think you're on a great point. And my worry with him, Jeff, is that might turn out to be a double-edged sword for him, because at least with Candace, she's drawn the line. Like she said in her podcast the other day, when it goes to TPUSA, she's like, I'm war with all of you. I'm not trying to be friends. I want war. She said specifically, I want war with all of you.
Yeah.
So on her side, and whereas he's going to be at AmFest, I think, or he's still he's on good terms with TPUSA. He's on good terms still with a lot of these people.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, got Josh Hammer, they're talking about neutralizing him. How are you going to stay safe, sir? If we are right, if you and me are right, okay, about our assertion that Israel probably, had something to do with this, which means B, Erica and TPUSA and probably the administration would have had to at least known about it / have some involvement to help it happen. Okay. Like a complete betrayal of him. Ultimately, if that is the case, and he was sleeping with the enemy, so to speak, Tucker Carlson can't be safe there. There's no way that he can be safe there, communicating with them or being friends with them. I know, and I say this to my friend all the time, like it's sitting on the fence is not a safe place to be.
No.
I think that's where, I want to be neutral. I want to be friends with everybody, and I don't want to be at war with anybody. But at the end of the day, the fence is where the bullets go over. So you're really putting yourself in harm's way in a way. So
I think so too.
I think that if that's going to prove to be a risky part of it is that he is a bit more neutral with things versus Candace, who is, like you said,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. And I'm not sure what the difference in them is that makes her such a firebrand and him such an intelligent guy that holds his place. But it seems like he doesn't want to. And we should understand it to be very human that a man who shares the same morals and platform as Charlie might be afraid that he's going to get shot next. I mean, I understand it's a human thing. You see somebody close to you, and you're a whole lot like them, and they get shot down. The first thing you think is, well, even if it isn't a conspiracy of some kind, some little copycat Me Too nutbag is going to find me somewhere and
right.
peg one in my noggin too. And those are possibilities. Those are very, very, very good possibilities. It's not, and when I say possibilities, I don't mean that there's a big chance it's going to happen. I mean, there's no reason to doubt that that's a very true way people think in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they want the notoriety that Charlie's shooter got. And there are so many, and we could probably dig into it. Maybe that's something we ought to do sometime.
Yeah,
Is between the two of us, dig into it and find out how many little copycat guys there were, and which bigger shooter were they emulating.
yeah,
Uh, I believe it happens. I believe that happens. And if something were to happen to Candace or Tucker, very likely it could be one of those guys. Not an international conspiracy of any kind,
yeah,
but some nutbag, some nut job that wants a piece of the pie too.
yeah,
They're out there.
yeah. You're right, and that's a great point to make. And people like them got to watch their back from multiple angles. You know what I mean? That's
Oh,
the unfortunate thing. Um, I think that the one thing that Candace has on her side over Tucker in this regard is that because she is so polarizing, a lot more polarizing than he is, and she's down to make enemies. She did say something on one of her recent shows where she's like, this life is not the goal. This life is not this isn't the end. And she's talked a lot about the uncertainty of her safety and the possibility of her ultimate demise at the hands of a crazy person or a political person or people. And I agree with her in one. She said, and I don't quote me how she said this, but basically how I feel about it is the moment that Charlie was killed, there was something that happened in me. Everybody's afraid of death. You know what I mean? There's that everybody's afraid of death, or most people are afraid of death. There was something in me that changed in that moment. And
mhm.
more I became the most just unafraid of death that I have ever been. I have such confidence in the fact that this is it. And if anything, I want my life to, even if it's shortened, because of my openness to speak the truth and my bold big mouth. Like I want that so much more than to live a lot longer hiding in the shadows being a coward. Like that's
Mm,
not what my legacy to be.
right.
And
Well,
so
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I'm just to me Charlie's end, as graphic and as horrible and as awful as it was, we felt it, we saw it across the nation, no matter if it was it's a conspiracy or whatever the narrative or the truth is. It sent a surge wave throughout the world,
Oh yeah.
not just our country, throughout the world, of people seeing the level of evil that this world actually has in it, and it changed a lot of people for the better. I think people are becoming a lot more spiritual. They're aligning with God, and
Yeah.
Creator in the real way, and they're wanting to focus on those important things in life,
Yep.
and becoming, I think, in a way, we're all becoming a little bit more brave. We're all becoming a little bit more outspoken. We're all becoming a bit more of heretics, if you will.
Yeah. Right on. I think I think the upsurgence in church attendance and interest in the Bible and Christianity has surged like it hasn't in longer than my lifetime. Uh, it seems like they're it seems like and Amy and I've talked a lot about being that new on fire Christian. You know how when you first have that salvation experience, you're so full of zeal and you're just eating up with it, and you have to go and share. You got to go tell somebody about it,
Yeah.
and people at work start looking at you like you're a nutcase, and you're overcome with zeal, and I think that's what's happening right now. That sort of effect is happening with the American public now in the wake of this Charlie Kirk incident, and the zeal, the new zeal for this kind of life and this kind of thought and spirituality is just waving across America, and not just America. I don't think it's probably. I think it's been happening in other countries too.
Yeah.
Maybe European places had a great fondness for Charlie Kirk,
Yeah.
and here's the one thing that and this is probably another conversation, but here's just going to be the little preview for it because we're going to do this again.
For sure. For sure.
One thing that I certainly believe is that those old ancient Hebrews had a handle on something about the future. They knew stuff, they had means of knowing things, and some of that stuff's coming down the pike pretty fast now.
Yep.
And one of the things that's been talked about forever is this one world government idea that would be headed off by a fellow known to be the Antichrist.
Right.
And the thing that the peculiar place the United States is in that scenario is we're the last great bastion
Of
of
free.
of freedom, of complete being a nation that's free of everybody else. We're really not, because all the ties, the financial and business ties, have us linked in with everybody. If they sank, we'd sink too because we're hooked to them. But America can't be a sovereign state if this world government thing is going to happen. And there's one thing that's looking to me like could unite, and nothing speaks America like conservative Christians. And I don't mean that to be insulting to anybody. It's just something I observe, and I see, and I think it's true. Conservative Christian, the populace of America is what's keeping it in that sovereign state of mind, because nothing else is, anything outside that's not. So if America's sovereignty has to be dissolved, then what's one of the first places they're going to have to start working at? What are the first roots they're going to have to start chopping at?
Mhm.
Christianity, spirituality, namely Christianity, the church.
Yeah.
And I don't like to think about that stuff really happening, because when I was a kid growing up, it was just another horror story that we tell. But now, at this point in life, and I'm paying attention to what's going on out there. Amy and I both do. We both keep an eye on different things. If I miss something, she catches it, and vice versa. And we're seeing things that are really making this whole the book of Daniel and Isaiah in the Old Testament, and of course Revelation in the New.
Mhm.
Those things are happening. Those
Yep.
and I'm not the kind of guy that just jumps on that. Oh, Jesus is coming back real soon, folks. I'm not that guy. Yeah. I believe that we don't know the day or the hour, just like it's said in the scripture.
Mhm.
So I figure he's got his timeline figured out. He knows what's going on. and whatever happens will happen when the time's right. And but I'm seeing it, and that's the curious thing about
Yeah.
about the whole New Testament is Jesus. The only thing he said that he wouldn't do is tell us the day of the hour. And the
Yeah.
reason he gave for not doing that is he didn't know it himself.
Didn't.
But Jesus said there'll be signs. There'll be signs in the heavens, signs in the earth. You're going to see signs everywhere. You're going to see this. You're going to see that. Wars, rumors of wars, brother turning against brother, father against son. And wow, is that ever happening now?
Yeah.
You know, and it worries me that I've lived this long because I thought I'd be long dead before any of this stuff started happening. I didn't think I would live to see it, and I think I'm gonna.
Yeah. I think you are too. And I think a lot of people feel like you do. And I know at one point in time I did too. Uh, but I also I now think of it and from the perspective of like, what a time to be alive in the most historical time in human history in prophecy that I'm gonna go through it. Yeah, there's gonna be
Yep.
parts. But guess what? I do believe that our souls before we came here, and this is my personal belief. I don't think that there's anything biblical to this, but it's my personal spiritual belief that we chose to come down here for such a time as this
Mm-hmm.
and purpose for. I know we all have purpose under God in
Mm-hmm.
this. And so we're supposed to be here, Jeff. You're supposed to go through it with me. You know, like
And I agree with you. I believe that we chose it. We chose it ahead of time, and I
yeah,
have a broader belief uh, thing that we'll get into one of these days when we're just sitting down talking. But it coincides with what you just said. We choose our parents. We choose the time and the place in which we're going to re-enter. And I did make the mistake of saying re-enter. I did it on purpose. Re-enter this life, this world, and I think we're here when we're supposed to be. I, I it bumfuzzles me because I don't want to be one of those people that just regurgitate the blather, you know, that everybody regurgitates all the time. I don't want to be that guy. I
right.
want to have some kind of sensibility and rationale behind what I say because otherwise I'm just regurgitating the status quo. You know, sometimes the status quo is right, often they're not. And I just want to go ahead and find right myself and not rely on the status quo to dictate to me what's correct and right and wrong.
The true definition of a heretic, you know?
I would say so. Yes, ma'am.
You live it. It's not just, an album, you know, for you. It's not just on a T-shirt for you. You're living it, and I respect that, and I resonate with it, and I appreciate it, and I'm so grateful not only for our friendship, your insight, and your encouragement and support. As I stated before, we definitely have to do this again, Jeff Hopson. Thank you so much.
Oh, let's do. And I had a I had a request from the audience over here about Amy wants to know what you think about the texts that Candace posted from Charlie about knowing, feeling pretty certain he was going to die.
Yeah, yeah. There,
And
I
I did get to read those on online. So
yeah, I think that they very much are proof, just more proof of the fact that I believe she's telling the truth and everything that
yeah.
she's saying. I believe that it also just goes to confirm the text that his other friends recently got from him, and that that he was worried about being taken out as well.
Yeah.
I believe that, and what I'm coming to learn about Charlie Kirk that I'm loving so much more than I realized, and this is through Candace's take of him and her stories, is that yes, he was a Christian and he was a believer, but he was very spiritual too. He was
Hmm.
all spiritual and very energetic. He believed in manifestation. He believed in dreams. He believed in those sort of things. And which is often, deemed to be taboo or heretical,
Mhm.
from Christians and
And,
believers.
and
I think,
a man having that kind of spiritual stature, there's a good chance that he could have gotten some information from beyond
yeah,
this realm.
yeah, absolutely.
That his time was short. I
He was very sure of it.
I think Amy just said, and I agree with her. He was very sure of it.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to go as far as to say very sure, but I really think he was. I think he knew his time was short, and I think God had gently, lovingly let him know that.
yeah, yeah. You make me want to cry with that. I do. That's heavy. And I do believe that too. I do believe that too. And I believe he went forward in boldness even so. I believe that he did know, and he shared that because that had to be a fear with him, just like when Jesus went, it said
Mhm.
he sweated blood, and he was so stressed and he asked that the cup pass from him.
Mhm.
Nobody wants to go through that, but he walked in.
She's so 100% correct.
You've got a big A-manner over here in the couch beside me. She's saying she is so 100% correct, pointing her hand vigorously, and I'm with her. I'm with you. I'm in
Yeah,
total agreement with this whole conversation.
yeah.
He's
Well,
between the Garden of Gethsemane,
Mhm.
and he had to say, please God, don't. No.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That whole Gethsemane scene comes into mind.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
with this thing about Kirk's foreboding about his own death. It doesn't Garden of Gethsemane come to mind when you think of that?
it's heavy, it's a lot, but there's also the other side of it. It's sad and it's emotional, and because what better, the best go that way. The best among us go that way. And I think that there's a reason for that. I think that God chooses them for a reason. Um and at the end of the day, at the end of this life, uh just the mansion he's living in and the love that he's living in, and
Right.
just the purpose. I don't think that that word explains enough of how what I'm meaning, and
I know.
what it means, but to have that purpose
Yeah.
in your
And to
life.
know it, not just hope it or think you have it, but to know that's your purpose.
Yeah.
And know it.
And to walk boldly
Yeah.
every single day, even
hmm
so.
hmm Without
That,
fear. I'm sure he felt fear. It's human to be afraid. There's nothing. I heard it said one time that there's no shame in being afraid, uh, but a coward shows himself in other ways.
that's right.
You know, it's how you react to fear and how you conduct yourself during fear that counts for a lot, and that can be said for our boy.
Yeah, absolutely. He walked forward even so, even in the face of fear, even though he knew inside his soul what it was, he walked boldly in the face of it.
Mhm.
And he knew him, said that he was like, okay, fine, I'll use the vest or what have you. And everybody wanted to be more secure with him. Oh, like,
Mhm.
go and it's gonna happen how it happens. I trust God in this.
And
And
I'm going real pastoral here. That side of me kind of creeps in once in a while, you know.
oh,
But he had his moment in the garden in which he may have sweat some drops of blood, and he said, "If it be thy will, let this cup pass from me, but nevertheless, thy will be done."
done. Amen. Amen, brother. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you, Amy. And
Thank you.
She's crying. She's crying over here.
I
She's
love
sitting all red-eyed too. But I love the fact that you're doing this, and I hope you keep it up. Uh, stay the course. Uh,
it.
fight the good fight.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we will definitely do this again, and have so much more great stuff to talk about. We got to do music too, Jeff. Like
Oh,
that's,
absolutely.
yeah, I'm excited to do that with you as
That
well. We
would be
got
just wrong if you and me didn't do that.
to. All right, everyone. Well, thank you once again for joining this amazing episode. I'm so glad that we did it. We'll be back again next week with another one. I've got another great exclusive coming up that you guys are going to love. Jeff, tell people how they can find you on social media or how to find your music. Where can they go to find you?
Oh, actually, my music is on. I have a YouTube channel. I've got a channel on Spotify, and both my albums in their entirety are on those things. And did I suddenly go dark? That's okay. Just leave it off. It's fine.
We can see you.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. Probably looks better than not. Just leave it off, babe. It's all right. But let's see. I've got a YouTube channel. It's just Jeff Hopson. JEFFHOPSON, and the same on Spotify. The difference between Spotify and YouTube is YouTube has some bunch of live clips too of just me performing live, that
Nice.
you can see, which aren't on Spotify. But both albums are on there. They're on Amazon Play, and there's 2 or 3 other streaming platforms. I don't even know the name of them. I never heard of them, but they're on those.
All
But
right.
you can find them there.
Perfect. Well, make sure to go check out Jeff and his music. He is truly amazing. If you're in the North Dallas area, he performs around here in Garland and Richardson, Plano area. So just always keep online. There's different venues that he performs at all the time. He performs with some amazing artists. Like I said, I've been to his shows and I was just blown away by it. So great stuff. We'll do this again, my friend. Thank you so, so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate you having me. I enjoyed it.
All right, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon.
See ya.